This show is proudly supported by Habitats at Home, Australia's leading PVC reptile enclosure specialist. Check them out on Instagram and Facebook at Habitats at Home, and be sure to visit habitatsathome.com.au if you're in the market for a new PVC reptile enclosure or other reptile accessories. Massive thanks to Tyson over at Habitats at Home. We'd like to thank our podcast sponsor, Bay, reimagining reptile keeping through innovation. They combine quality, design, and function to create high-end 3D printed reptile products. And if you've got a unique setup or problem, they'll craft a custom solution made just for you. Check them out on Instagram at Bay. This show is proudly supported by Dan from Red Earth Reptiles. If you want to drool over some of the best looking green tree pythons in the country, check out Dan on Instagram at red_earth_reptiles. G'day and welcome to ChatGTP's episode something or other. I'm not entirely sure. 3 or 4, I think. How's it going, Dan?
Oh, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Really well. Getting to the pointy end of things for me here with my clutch, so I'm pretty much constantly anxious, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's definitely heating up here in north as well. So
yeah,
animals
absolutely.
are feeding and all that fun stuff again. So it's good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, animals are feeding. Animals are moving. I've got one of my taipans here. Literally, just moves every single time I'm looking at that enclosure. She's cruising around.
Yeah, wow.
I don't know what it is. She's just busy. But yeah, like I was saying just before we jumped on here, everything's sitting pretty much 30 degrees constantly in this place, which isn't bad. I think the animals probably enjoy it.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yeah. How's things looking on your end? You've had a pretty exciting few days.
Yeah, look, I have. I can't deny it. I, had a great clutch, and those babies started shedding out, and it's just been super cool. And watching them, it's the first time I've really seen reds of that sort of caliber, I guess. It's been just super exciting. It's been a long journey, and I'm super grateful for Darren and the work we've been putting in. So yeah, who knows what they'll turn out like, but so far it's just been an absolute wild ride. So yeah, it's been great. And
yeah, awesome.
Yeah, it's been
super cool
bucket list thing, and so it feels interesting to kind of achieve it. Yeah,
I think it's going to be awesome for you to watch them literally from day one through their development. You get to see pretty much every single step of the way, which is pretty much the ideal situation, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, we've got Dan Boswell as a guest today. What do you know about Dan?
Well, of course he's famous, isn't he, for Kofiau's, and he's appeared in in the state, all sorts of podcasts talking about him. So we're going to really hear about that. I guess I've always really admired his collection. I remember early days jumping on Instagram and just seeing just the diversity of the stuff he's got. And I think for me, being in the north, he's down in South Australia, keeping in completely different climate. So interested to understand how he tackles all of those challenges. Like he's in South Australia, so really dry, sometimes quite hot as well. So yeah, just interested in that, and I guess his journey with chondros, and what it is about green trees that sort of excites him, I guess, like the rest of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're all bound by that passion for green pythons, but you're right. I'd like to hear about his husbandry and just see how much it really differs from ours, because I know for me at the moment, my green python husbandry is pretty much not much. I feed and I mist occasionally, and I change water. They don't need anything else.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, that's probably enough yapping. Let's bring him on.
G'day, boys.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
How are you?
How you going?
Good, mate.
Yeah, doing well.
Thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, of course. We're stoked to have you on pretty early on in the piece too. It's great.
And also again, a big congrats to Dan with his clutch this week. Some very, very nice looking animals there.
I appreciate it, mate. We've certainly been drooling over your Kofiau's, so They look awesome.
Thanks, mate. And Joe will be holding his nerves over the next week with his clutch coming towards the end of its incubation.
I'm pretty damn eager. It's day 48 today, and things are looking great. I'll be starting to crack them open pretty often and wipe down that condensation off them, off the box, and I'll be willing them to hatch constantly.
Yeah.
I think. You're right.
Yeah, the eggs look really good. I think it should be. It looks like it's going to be a good result for you. So, I have my fingers crossed for you.
Oh, man, I hope so. Thank you. I keep seeing, or I have seen in the past few years. I've just bred green pythons. Here's 22 eggs. Oh, what do you know? 22 have all hatched and they're all perfect. And they're all feeding. And I can only hope to add a story like that. But
yeah.
And you know what? I'm not even prepared for anything less. I'll be a wreck if it goes to shit.
Awesome.
Right. Yeah, sweet. Well, do you want to just give us a bit of a rundown on your history with reptiles?
I guess my history with reptiles. Growing up, Dad always had reptiles in the house. Various pythons, monitors. Even some venomous at some stage. But I really remember the green python like capturing me, yellow neonates, and then going through that color change. So I always used to really appreciate looking at Dad's collection and his animals that he had. But as a teenager and a young adult, it never really occurred to me like, why don't I get a reptile? I think I was around 24, 25, and it was my birthday, and I was like, what do I want this year? And I was like, well, I might get a snake. So, and that first snake was from a local pet shop, and it was a wild type Darwin carpet python, and that's where, for me personally, reptile keeping started. And it was good. I always had Dad in my corner, like getting lots of knowledge off him. And slowly I started adding a few more things, some black-headed pythons, womas, jungles, some albino Darwins.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say, Dan, like, I think we've got to stop and just give your dad a shout out. That's, I can't even imagine if that was the case. For me growing up, that would have been absolutely amazing, particularly enabling for me to get more reptiles. I've also got to say, I've got actually one of his, I guess, lineage of one of his animals. So
yeah, awesome.
Got to give him a shout out for that. So
yeah, no, he's been. I owe a lot. With my keeping to him, like he's always been there to help when I've needed it, answered any questions I've needed, whether it's helping build enclosures or anything. It's been great.
Do you ever have disagreements?
No, we don't. No, we don't. No, we both. Yeah, we seem to be on the same page with things, so it was good.
That's great.
But yeah, I guess I started building up some of those kind of animals, and like I always aspired to want to breed, but I didn't want to end up breeding those particular animals because at that time, the price points for them were relatively low, and I didn't want to breed animals and just get caught with a heap of snakes that I couldn't move on. So I never bred them, and I always, like the green python for me, I knew it was a python. It was a python that I really wanted to have in my collection. I was always just on YouTube watching videos, on forums, researching about them, just everything I could like take in about them. And then, but they were just at that time a little bit out of my price range. I couldn't afford them. And then it got to a stage where I managed to acquire.
Let's be honest, Dan. They were bloody expensive.
Yeah, they were.
They were crazy.
They were, and I knew when I did eventually bring them in, I wanted to do it right. I didn't want to, pay all this money for a really nice animal and just not give it justice and put it in like, something that's not going to do right by the animal. But it would have been around 2018. I acquired a male Aussie from Russell Grant, and a female from Michael Cermak, and they were my first two greens that came in 2018. And pretty well, as soon as those two animals came in, I sold everything off. I just knew that they were the snake I wanted to work with. I know I was brand new to it, but I always had like a bit of determination and a vision of, what I could do in terms of working with them, building up a group, etc. So that's essentially, I guess, a brief outrun of keeping reptiles and getting my first couple of greens in. And pretty much from those first two greens that came in, it sort of exploded. I came in at a time where I was really fortunate, where there was some good availability at that time. Like I remember speaking with Darren Ford in regards to some red neos, and at that time he had 4 available. He said, if you want, you can have all 4 of them. I was like, I'd love to, but I could only afford one, and I think I attached a yellow sibling to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it pretty well grew from there. And I hadn't had any experience in breeding any reptiles prior, but I knew they were the snake I wanted to work with, and I knew I had my dad in my corner, and I'd networked with a couple of very experienced breeders, and I guess I just had a bit of belief in myself that I could do it. And it's been quite the journey, a lot of learnings, and I've been very fortunate, these last 4 years now that I've had success each year in producing some.
Yeah, you've got a damn good sort of lineup and a good history behind you, especially with the greens. So was it that pair that you got in 2018? Was it the first pair that you bred?
Well, yeah. So I guess those two particular Aussies were, I'm going to say Russell's male was around 15 months old, and Michael Cermak was around 14 months. So they weren't hatchlings, but they weren't old animals. So I had to, keep raising them up. But yeah, they were the first two greens that I did try and pair, and I tried to pair those two together for 2 years with no luck. And I think that came down to I didn't have my caging set up correctly for them. Like at that time, I was running the Arcadia T5 UVB tubes in those cages, and those fittings alone can output like a lot of heat. Yeah. So it was, and little to my lack of knowledge, I didn't need to run those all day either. So my thermal gradient was essentially out in the cage for long periods of time, and that female, she ended up getting like rather dehydrated from the whole situation, and she wasn't having bowel movements, and she went downhill, and she passed away. But so yeah, I had been trying for 2 years, and I was scratching my head. I needed to adjust the way I had them set up initially, and I had a really good phone call with Russell Grant, just talking over exactly what he's doing, and I think by the end of the phone conversation, he's like, look, like, you're on the right path. Like what you do, like a lot of what you're doing is right. You just got to keep persisting and and not give up, and it will happen for you. And that following year, it did. And yeah, from there on, it's just been a great ride. But I also did pay a visit to my friend Steve Crawford. He's had a lot of success in breeding his greens, and I thought it would be good to visit his setup. We both live in the same state. It'd be good to discuss how he goes about it. And that was a good, I got a lot of good learnings from that as well. So I had, obviously Dad and a select couple really experienced breeders that I would, talk to, and it was just a matter of, just not giving up, continue to learn, and it all just started to happen for me.
Yeah, I think we've touched on this in a few other podcasts. I think there's a personality type with green python keepers, and I think a lot of it is that sort of growth mindset. Okay, I make mistakes. How do I get better?
Yep.
Because like far out, I can't even tell you how many animals that have died in my collection from a range of different things, and
Yeah.
we don't really talk about it, but some of them have been really stupid things, like shutting a tub on a Neo's head or something. There's a whole range of different things that we do, and I guess it's what's great about these podcasts. I think it's just be able to talk about it.
100%.
And I love that. You found some mentors, and that was my question. Like in the early days, we're talking 2018. Were you meeting all these guys on forums, or how were you actually? How are you connecting with them?
Like initially, like outside of Aussies, and like I know of various locality types, Biaks and Sarongs and so on. But I joined a Facebook page. It's no longer there anymore. It was called Chondros in Oz.
Oh yeah.
And I was just constantly observing the posts on that page, and regular guys like Andrew Owen were posting, Russell was posting. I'd see posts from guys like James Lyon, and I would just see these guys were like really successful with what they were doing. But not only that, the animals that they were working with was phenomenal. So it was almost like a bit of overload. So I just sort of started reaching out and networking with these guys, and tried, building relationships and things like that. And I think that goes a long way if you're looking to want to build yourself a green tree python group yourself.
Yep.
But I guess that's probably where it all like started. And then you get to talking to one, and they'll start talking about another breeder working with what they have, and I guess just over time it just I just managed to and after a while, like even though you haven't met most of them, they're essentially your friends. They're like more than just a breeder that you're talking to. It's really cool.
100%. I also think that 2017, 2018, whilst I wasn't like heavy in the green pythons back then, I was pretty big on elapids at the time, and I was on the Aussie elapids page. And back then, I think it probably had a bit of a similar sort of, vibe to it, to the page you're referring to, where a lot of the bigger keepers, a lot of the, the big time guys who had a lot of experience and a lot of animals were freely posting good pictures, good information. They were talking and engaging with people, but a lot of that stuff's gone. Like in the last, probably literally like the last 5 or 6 years, all that stuff's disappeared. And I think a lot of the Facebook groups are just overrun with, not even novices, just people who aren't even interested offering their opinions, and it's just it's kind of crap nowadays. Facebook groups are the good Facebook groups are few and far between.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you definitely see some questionable things posted, and I just quickly scroll on and move on from it.
Trying to erase it from your mind.
Yeah.
What's your collection look like now? How many green pythons or adults, I guess, have you got in the collection these days?
I think all up right now, including the hatchlings, it might be in the 50s. I think 50 maybe. And I think after what I'll let go from this clutch, I think my group will probably sit around 40. And I guess that's probably predominantly made up 50% of being adults, and then I think there's 10 yearlings in the rack from last year that I'm raising up, and the fresh clutch in the rack at the moment.
Yeah, so the plan is
stacked.
Stacked indeed.
Yeah.
You'd make a good football manager. You gotta.
It definitely keeps me busy, but it's something I really enjoy. Like a lot of the time, you're mostly changing water bowls, keeping the cages clean, and making sure their conditions are all good. So you got to really love it to, I guess, want to do it if you sort of grow up to those sort of numbers.
Yeah, definitely. I know for me, as soon as I wake up, it's the first thing on my mind, to get down here and
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
get into it.
Well, when you're keeping animals at volume, you just have to run your eyes over things, like
Yep.
very frequently. Because if something's wrong or amiss, you've got to notice it. Like even just like
Yep.
well, it doesn't really matter for green pythons, but if you're rack keeping like a lapids on newspaper and they flip a water bowl, you don't notice
Yep.
it for a couple of days, and they've been soggy for a few days, then
Yep.
issues can arise, and I'm sure there's similar issues.
Yeah,
Not
definitely.
necessarily with green pythons laying in in water for days, but you know.
Yeah. And I like with my group, I am a daily mister. I don't do it super heavy, so that it's, it takes days to sort of, dry out. So I tend to mist daily, and I guess that gives you some interaction to, like, look at each animal as well. And I think I'm very observant with the animals here as well. So, if something's not right, it stands out to me pretty quickly.
What sort of typical ambient humidity are you dealing with down there, Dan?
Uh, well, during the winter, it's probably like sub 30%. Like it's it
Yeah.
it's really really quite low. And
Yeah.
I guess like with the racks and things, it's really easy to maintain good humidity in those sort of situations. But yeah, it is during the winter. I do deal with the occasional like poor shed here and there. So I really got to pay attention during the winter when one goes in the shed, that I'm giving a good misting and each day to make sure that it can have a nice clean shed. But
Yeah,
yeah, I guess the substrate I use in the cage, the that coconut husk as well, like really helps. I can give that a good strong mist, and I'll give the backgrounds in the cage as a good mist. And fortunately for me, that seems to like work quite well for me.
What is that substrate? Is it like the bricks you can buy from Bunnings, or are you buying it like in a bag?
Nah, it's in a bag from the local pet store.
Okay,
I forget what the brand is, but it's just like a
yeah, it's like
coarse coconut husk.
yeah, repti bedding or something or other.
Yeah,
It's a yellow and green bags.
I think so. Yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah. I like that stuff, but I'm just a lowly reptile keeper, so I just get the Koya peat bricks from Bunnings. And
Yep.
it's essentially the same thing. I just got to spend the time to rip it off the blocks and spread it out, but it works well enough for me. That's that same sort of gear. We were talking before about just how different our husbandry would be, and daily misting up here, I don't think that would be very beneficial. Dan's
Nah,
shaking his head. Dan Zed is shaking his head.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because all of my enclosures have got butcher's paper in the
Yep.
bottom, and that's it.
Yeah, awesome.
But it's funny where I'm at. I get quite dry winters, so it's
Yep.
this real. I get really humid summers, hot humid summers, dry winters. So it's a real challenge. I want high airflow in my enclosures, but during the winter, it's it's hard to have everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love like some focus cube, sliding vent type things going on, but
Yeah, that'd be
it
awesome.
is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Do you
it's
find? I was just sorry, Dan. Do you find with the the cocoa substrate, are you having sort of mold and fungus sort of issues? Are you?
no, not at all. I just seem to spray it to a level where I get a good humidity spike, like right into the high 90s, and come the next day, it's nicely dried out. I've never had any issues with mold buildup. I think that if you were spraying it too heavy and it's almost like wet in there for long periods of time, you definitely would come
Yeah.
across that issue for sure.
Yeah, but same thing, I think, too. Like, if we were to do that substrate up here, we'd have to modify our husbandry and spray much less, and I can see mold occurring and something like that up here significantly faster than it would in a climate
Yeah.
like yours, Boz. How often do you think you're changing out that substrate, like, entirely?
Oh, look, so obviously, when they do soil it, I take out a massive clump surrounding that area, and F10 it and then replenish it. But like, I
Yeah.
mean, like a full complete changeover, it might be like probably somewhere between 3 to 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That seems pretty reasonable, I think. Um, I do want to talk about your enclosures. You've got some interesting rock walls in there. How did they come about? Like, what are they made of? And did you build them?
Yeah. Um, I've got a guy in Adelaide who does, he's got his own business doing, he does cabinetry, fit outs and all that sort of stuff, and he does reptile enclosures on the side. So
Awesome.
he's been my go-to guy in terms of just building the boxes. But from those first initial cages that I had my original two Aussie adults in, I was talking with Andrew Owen, and he was just going through building new cages for his room, and he sent me through some photos, and they were all 3 by 2 by 2, and he had like a, I don't know, 150 mil gap in between each cage for his thermostat, and he had the universal rock backgrounds in them, and I just really loved the look of what he did. I've essentially pretty much like completely like copy pasted what he did. The only the only the only real difference is I just put on those 150 mil gaps just a fold down door, just so just for me really, just so all the electrics I guess is hidden. It's all, everything's easily accessible, but it just gave it a bit of a a nice clean look. So that's pretty much how I came across that design, and yeah, I got this guy down in Adelaide who I'm grateful that he's happy to make them for me when I need them. And then I guess essentially I just order all of the components in, and my brother and dad generally come up and help me, yeah, get all the everything all fitted in and up and running.
Yeah, and you're running heat panels there too. What I know nothing about them. I've never had to
Yeah.
use one or even looked into them. What brand are they? Where'd you get them from? What's the wattage, etc.
I don't even know if they have a brand name. Well, the struggle I had is you can't buy them in Australia. So
Yeah.
I forget about how I even came across it. I might have just been just searching the internet for heat panels in Europe, because I know if I could get some from Europe over here, I could just cut the plugs off, put an Aussie plug, and it will work. And I came across this German website that had them. They don't have a brand name attached to them, but it's this brand, this German pet store, and they had a 40-watt version and a 70-watt. I went with the 70-watt version, just given how cold the winters get here, and I didn't want the panel just like working flat out, just to maintain that temp. I like the thermostats to be working like under 50%. It's just comfortably like running it. So yeah, I got them in from Germany. Yeah, the 70 watt panels. I just put an Australian plug on them, and so far out of all 27 panels that I got in the cages, I've only had one that stopped working on me. And I'm pretty regular with checking the panels with the gun to make sure they are working. So they've been quite a good reliable panel, and I know quite a lot of the guys around Australia use that same panel as well.
Yeah, nice. What thermostat have you coupled them to?
I was originally using the microclimate Evo lights, so just
Nice,
the
yeah.
digital one, so I can set the daytime, nighttime temp. But the only issue I had with those, if I ever have a power outage, I have to go back to each thermostat and reset it, which is
Yeah.
really, really frustrating. And some of them, for whatever reason, when they do come back on, they revert back to the days when I was keeping bloody carpet pythons. So it's really frustrating. I have one that will always revert to 31 degrees, so that's my incubator thermostat. And then on the latest bank I did behind me, I'm now using the microclimate Connect 2s, so it's all via Wi-Fi. So if I get a power outage, it just gets a direct feed of the settings from my phone, and it goes back to exactly how it should be. and I've been really happy with those. So I think eventually when I do move everything into a dedicated room, I'll put or connect twos on all of them.
Awesome. So when I'm not very well versed in those things, if the power goes out, do they notify you? Like, does your phone go off or anything like that?
Yeah. You'll get a notification that the thermostat's offline, and it will tell you when it's back online, and you can jump in and check that it's at the right temp, etc. And it'll give you, and you can just even go in and you can see a graph of, you know, how the temps have been going right across the day, the week, the months. You can get quite a lot of great detail from it. And, you know, if you can even like change the temperature from your phone if you're out, or if you need to adjust it for whatever reason, you can do it on your phone and it will just do it on the spot. Yeah, it's great. I mean,
you must be frothing that. Graphs and shit.
They are expensive. That's the only thing. But
they're really expensive, aren't they?
Yeah. But
I was going to ask you that question, Dan. Are you using one per cage, or are you using one to control bank?
So each bank is a bank of 9 cages. So I have 3 thermostats running down the middle. So one will run the top level, one will run the middle, one will run the bottom. Just because,
makes sense. Yeah,
each level might be slightly different. That's the way I have it at the moment.
I think that's good. And if you sound like a very diligent keeper. If you're spending time with the animals all day, or not all day, but every day, missing them and whatnot, you're gonna pick up on whether a panel's died or whatnot. You pick up on that pretty rapidly. So, awesome. That's heaps good.
Come on, Joe. Let's talk about Kofiau's.
I was about to say, let's talk about Kofiau's.
I want to hear this. I want to hear the story again, Dan, right from the start, because honestly, it's a ballsy.
Let's do it.
It's a ballsy thing, you know, and I want to know about it.
It's crazy.
What was? I want to understand really your thinking. It's kind of like
you definitely wouldn't read it. You definitely wouldn't read about it, but so I guess the Kofiau's, they were the next lot of green pythons that came into my collection from the 2 Aussies. So,
which is insane. It's insane, right? That's insane.
It is. Yeah. So, I kept those Aussies, you know, for a few months, and I felt good about how they were going, and they were eating, they were shedding, they were doing everything right. And then I was at a barbecue at my brother's. My dad was there, and we got around to talking about snakes like we usually do. And I just said, look, if there was a particular type of green python I could keep, if I could get my hands on it, would be Kofiau's. And then Dad goes, oh, well, I've been talking to this guy. He's got 5 that he wants to sell. And I was like, fuck off. You're full of shit. and sure enough, this dude had them.
Crazy.
And I was talking to him about them, and then I actually did everything I did with them was so wrong. I actually went to the bank and took a bank loan out for them.
Oh.
I took a bank loan out for these 5 Neos.
We just want to say to the kids out there, disclaimer: don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Then
get a payday loan, because that'll really kill you on the interest, you know.
Yeah. And then speaking with the breeder, you know, he had a child on the way, and he was after some money, and they weren't. He was very transparent. He's like, look, these are not established Neos. You can't just drop a mouse in there. They will not just. You're gonna have to work with them. I was like, you know what? Like, in my mind, I was like, I can do it. I'll be all right. And anyway, I flew to Sydney, and I met him, and had a quick look at the animals. They were all there. Gave him the cash. I lodged them in Qantas Freight. Flew straight back and waited for them to come in. And I took them straight home, and I opened up the tub, and like they were phenomenal. Like, super vibrant yellow, and their dorsal patterns like just amazing. But
because you're pretty spoilt, right? You're looking at these things every day. But I look at them, and there's just something different about the yellow and the pattern. They got this, I guess, a translucency about them. That's how I would describe it. Just an aside, but I know you're probably looking at them every day, thinking, "Oh yeah, it's just another yellow snake in your collection." But Yeah.
Got 20
Sorry,
more.
keep going. Yeah, got 20 more, whatever. Yeah.
But on a closer look at them, like they looked really quite dehydrated. They were like, really wrinkled. And at this stage, I reckon they were around 5 or 6 weeks old, and they had one feed.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, had they shed? Had their
They definitely had
shed.
they had their first sheds. He said they'd had a meal each. But they were very small. They did look quite dehydrated. So and again, that's something that you should never really do either. Is be bringing in a neo that's 5 weeks old, has only had one feed.
Sorry to interject here, and I guess the lesson is you probably should have bought the adults while you were there.
Yeah, I should have.
But get another bank loan, Dan.
Yeah, I know.
You should have just gone hell for leather.
Well, I'm curious. I don't need to know specifics, but was the price reasonable?
It was reasonable for what they were, and that reflected that they weren't established. They were super young. If he had held onto those and established them, he could have asked 3 times the amount. 100%. So in any case, I put them in their tubs. I gave them a really good mist, and I had them set up. And I was just thrilled to have these animals in my house. I couldn't believe it. And I did go to sleep that night and did leave them alone. But I woke up and the first thing I did was go in to check on them, and there were 3 like massive prolapses there.
Oh, I just can't believe it.
Yeah, huge. And I was like, and the breeder was really good about it. He said, look, if anything happens, when I breed them again, I'll replace them. But fortunately, I had a local rodent breeder who was pretty experienced with reptiles, and he helped show me how to like carefully insert the prolapse. But it became a recurring issue over the next couple of months. I kept them going for a couple of months. I did get them to, take food and things on their own, but it just kept happening time and time again, and they just slowly declined. And those 3, one after another, passed away. So there I am with 2 neos left that I've managed to establish and get feeding, and they're going really well. Neither one had prolapsed, but at that point in time, I could be like, well, I could have 2 males here, I could have 2 females. I was like, this could be like all over before it's even begun, But fortunately, the Conjuro gods must have been smiling on me, because I ended up with a male and female. And
crazy. Oh, we lost him.
Yeah, I think we lost him.
We did. Anyway, what's happening? What's happening, Dan? Boz, if you can hear me, you might have to leave and come back. Actually, I might just boot him.
Yeah, and I think while we're waiting for him to come back, my question to him would be, Joe, would he do something different, with those prolapses? In my experience, and it's limited, I don't tend to want to manually insert. I just use the icing sugar. Or have we got a bigger problem, Joe?
Yeah, I just clicked remove. Oh, there he's gone.
There he goes. Yeah, mate, so when you look back and you think about those animals prolapsing, would you do anything different, like in terms of how you managed it? Like, I know for me, I try not to go in for the insert straight away. I just use the icing sugar, and let's just see what happens first.
Yeah, I guess probably the biggest thing that I would do differently would be I'd remove the perches completely.
Yeah.
And I'd probably just flip like a water bowl or something upside down, so if it wanted to get off that paper towel, it could. That'd probably be the biggest thing I would do. In terms of I was, I'd wake up in the morning and I'd think, I know I'm going to go in there and one or a couple may have reprolapsed. And that's what it came to. So it was, and I definitely did, try, put the sugar on it and try let it shrink and go in on its own. And that wasn't working for me. But I think the biggest thing, and I was giving them a break from any kind of feeding at all once that did happen. I'd give them 2-3 weeks gap. But I think the biggest thing would be taking those purges out, so there's no pressure on that area. But yeah, I guess
So
fortunately,
were they prolapsing like? No, you're right. Go ahead.
Yeah, when they would prolapse, it was it's almost like they couldn't push everything out. Like there would be a bit of urate stuck in it, or some shit in there. So you'd really have to make sure, firstly, that you get that 100% cleaned out. Otherwise, it's just going to keep coming out. They're just having issues with their bowel movements and just getting everything out, it seemed. But
yeah,
and then when
how frequently was like each individual?
I would give myself extra time before work because I knew I'd be dealing with it every day. Like, it was multiple times a week. It was multiple times a week. Yeah. And then
that's rough.
Fortunately, they are the only 3 animals that I've ever had to deal with a prolapse with. Everything outside of that, everything I've produced so far, like, fortunately, I haven't seen a prolapse since. And yeah,
that's very interesting because obviously we've got a mad lag happening. I was just gonna say it's interesting because you've obviously produced a lot of, 2 clutches from the remaining 2 Kofiaus that you had, and you've not had any prolapses from any of those babies. So that, like, essentially in this sort of hypothetical that we come up with our green pythons and our
bit of bro science. That's it, bro science. That's what it is.
You could almost rule out genetics in that. Maybe it could be something to do with being severely or at least dehydrated when they were really young. Yeah, that did freak me out when I did have that first clutch. I was like every day looking in there, is it going to be there? And it never did appear from there. So it was, thank God,
very fortunate in that aspect. So I guess like I fast forward, I managed to get the pair. Yeah, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the odds of that even happening. And then it would have been 2022. Steve Crawford, he'd come over and looked at them, and Dad obviously sees them every time he comes over, and their opinion, they're like, oh, she looks like she's very ready and could breed. So I thought that year I cycled them and I paired them, and I thought I'll just see how they go. I'll see if they're compatible. Like, no expectation of I could see a clutch, but so I slowly tapered those temperatures down, and I'm going to say I first introduced them together like maybe the very tail end of May or the beginning of June. So I cycled them right down to around 20 degrees flat, and I even shortened the heating during the day as well. So I'm going to say I gave them maybe 10 hours heat and 14 hours cooling. And I did some first intros. I put the male in, and he started courting her straight away, spurring her all over her. He would just never leave her, just always coiled together. And I was like, well, I guess at least this is a positive. They look like they potentially could be compatible. Neither animal's stressing.
Yeah.
He looks like he's very keen. But I never saw any visual locks, and I had them together for several weeks. Wasn't seeing any visual locks, but one morning I woke up, I went down the hallway, I looked up, and I went to keep walking, and I looked back, and they're in this perfect lock. I couldn't believe it. I went straight to the fridge and cracked a beer. I know it was just a lock and it doesn't really mean anything, but I was like, you know, everything I'd been through with, you know, getting these two animals to establish and raise them, to have a pair, to just seeing them together locked, I just couldn't believe it. I was thrilled. And it just went on all day. Yeah, the lock went on all day, all the way through to when the lights went out that night. It was a really good lock. And that was the only visual lock I saw. And she tends to, like, when you look at Honeycomb, when she's building, like, she's really quite subtle with it. In particular that year. The cues for me that I saw with her was, you know, coming into breeding season, her food aggression is through the roof. If I'm going to get bit by a snake, it's her. And that's purely just from that food aspect. Like, you get her out, she's fine. But that food drive just completely dropped off. And I was like, oh, that's a big, you know, drastic change for you. And then what I find is, you know, when they get into that later follicle development stage and they're really getting into the thick of it, for me, my females, they just hug the heat. They do not move. Like, you don't see them move from there at all. And that for me is another cue that female looks to be progressing. And at that stage, I mean, you can try, but there would definitely be food refusal there, which she didn't want anything to do with it. But like, I hadn't really been through seeing each stage in person myself yet, so I was like, oh, like, you know, is she going that way? Is she not? But yeah, so for weeks and weeks, she was just stationary, hugging the heat. And then I think that week I had 3 females ovulate in that 1 week, and the first being Ivy, and then it was my Aussie female, and then I think I was on the phone to Jason Allen at the time, and I'm looking up at her and I'm going, you're not going to believe this, but I think she's ovulating. And sure enough, I catch it every time. I can almost walk in on the day of the morning and look at the female, just observe her for a bit and go, I reckon you might ovulate today. Because what they do, I find they do these real small incremental shifts on the perch. They stay in the same spot, but you'll walk past and they're just they've moved different, like slightly different again and again and again. And then surely enough, like, you know, later in that evening, she started to swell up, not massively, but, you know, and it just started to really curve, arch around the perch, and then really start sprawling out. And I was like, no, for me, that's like, after I'd seen the 2 girls before, that's like ovulation behavior there. And sure enough, 2 weeks later from there, she went into her prelay shed. And I'm going to say from that prelay, I'm going to say it was day 16 post shed, she laid, and it was during the day as well. And I was thinking to myself, you know, she wasn't big. She was like, you know, maybe 750 grams, but like good condition. And I was thinking, oh, you know, like she might drop maybe 6 eggs, you know, maybe 8 might be on the top end. And I gave her the time to, you know, finish what she was doing. Wasn't a perfect beehive, but she had laid 12 eggs. I was like, wow, I didn't expect 12 to come out of her, that's for sure. But with those eggs, like 50% of the eggs, they weren't fully calcified. So I set them up in the egg box, and sure enough, those eggs that weren't fully calcified, I did battle like some mold growth through the incubation with those eggs. So, and you know, I hear, you know, a lot of people putting the foot powder and this trick and that trick. But I remember when I had that conversation, just going over breeding with Russell, he spoke to me about battling some mold growth on a sarong clutch that he had. And he was just, when it was building up on those eggs, he would just wipe it down with some dry paper towel and he would hold it at bay. And so that's what I did. And sure enough, like really late into the incubation, that growth just more or less stopped. So I did have to battle with trying to keep those eggs looking as good as they could be. And the day, I think it would have been the day that I put them into the egg box. Steve Crawford, he came and had a visit to congratulate me and have a look at the eggs. But I was concerned about my Aussie eggs because when the female had finished laying her eggs, she'd left the egg box altogether and just abandoned the eggs. So
That's
he counted
interesting.
them and they looked, yeah, it was interesting. And sure enough, those eggs crashed very quickly. He candled those eggs in, and there wasn't much going on in there. And we candled the Kofiau eggs, and they had good brain development. Like they did look good. They looked viable. And he said, "You'll hatch at least half a dozen of these." And sure enough, that's what happened. It was day 49 that actually, interesting story with that clutch. Day 48, the first head appeared, and I was spinning out a little bit.
Wow.
So I incubate 31 degrees straight back, suspended over water. And day 48, I saw this first head, and I rang Dad, and I'm like, "There's a head already popped out. Like, that's a bit early, yeah?" And he's like, "I don't know, maybe it's ready." And I think I was on the phone to him for maybe 10, 15 minutes. And in that time, I went back to check. It had completely left the egg, and I found its head submerged in the water, drowned, like fully formed, beautiful dorsal pattern. So I was like, I was up here for a second, and then I'm back down here. I'm like, oh man. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, shit. Like, what does this mean for the rest? And then day 49, the next.
It means get the water out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Andrew, made a funny joke about that this year with them, actually. Day 49, the next one picked, but it was more, it was more typical, just sitting with its nose out, sitting in there for extended periods of time, soaking up the yolk. So from there, I did tip the water out, just really nice wet paper towel. And then slowly over 3 days, I hatched six hatched out from that clutch. There were, I'm gonna say that one egg went bad, and it was like all hard and rubbery inside. There was a couple in there fully formed, dead. So six in total hatched. One was really, really weak looking, and I could tell I didn't think that one was going to make it. It was perching super loose. Its mouth was a little bit open, and sure enough, that afternoon, that one did pass. But the other 5 all went on to establish, 2 of which ate from the word go, which was amazing. And the other 3, it was almost like, I don't know if they skipped their first shed cycle or they just took ages. It just took, I'm going to say it took like a month for them to have their first shed. So as time got on from there, I did assist feed those prior to waiting for them to have that first shed, just given the length of time it was taking. My method with them is, upon first feed trial, if they don't eat, I'll just assist feed a mouse leg straight away. They're so small, I just want to get their digestive system up and running, just get something into them. And I find with the Kofiaus, like if you want to get into them and breed them, they are notoriously painful to get going. But I found, similar with Chuck, after 4 to 6 assist feeds, they just tend to switch on, and then once they're on, they don't look back. And those 5 animals, gone on to do
that seems
to
to be
really
the
well.
technique.
Yeah, I was initially with the original adults assist feeding pink mouse heads, but it's just it's messy business, and I feel like they're probably getting more from the mouse leg than the pink head. So I've transitioned to the adult mouse legs from here.
Yeah. Hey, Boz, I wanted to ask, how old were the Kofiaus when you bred them first, the adults? Were they 4 years old?
They were like 3.5 going on 4. By the time she laid, she was, pretty much on 4 years old. But again,
nice, that's awesome. That's heaps good.
Yeah, her condition looked really good. And feedback from guys that had looked at her, they're like, she looks phenomenal.
no harm in trying her. But yeah, around like if a female was looking really good around that 3.5 going into 4, I'm not opposed to giving them a go. But typically, 4
Yep.
to 5 is probably your better time, I guess.
Yeah, I think you really had a mixed bag of issues with the Kofiau, from getting the initial babies with prolapses through to
Yeah.
a baby drowning itself, and then
Yeah.
one looking weak and whatnot. You really had quite a few different sort of curveballs thrown at you, so that's definitely a
Yeah.
learning a stack of learning experiences there. So, how did the other two females go? Oh, sorry, you said the Aussie female abandoned the clutch, and what about the third female in that year? And was that
Ivy was the first female to ovulate for me, and her clutch was amazing. It was like 16 perfect looking eggs. She coiled around them, and like you see some clutch eggs, and you're like, I don't even bother counting them. That like they look wicked. They look good, and they just like feel really good. And that I didn't have to touch those eggs. I'm gonna say I hatched 15 out of the 16 eggs from her clutch.
wow?
And yeah, with the Aussie female, yeah, she laid, I'm going to say around 7 eggs and maybe like 5 slugs. But yeah, it was interesting. I gave her time, and then I opened up the tub because I couldn't get her to settle in a nest box. So I had her in a rack in a tub. And yeah, once she finished, she'd abandoned the eggs altogether. And yeah, they crashed very quickly. So yeah,
Was that your first
really
year
good
of breeding breeds?
Yeah. It was my first successful year. There was 4 girls that went. So yeah, like really good success and
That's
outcome
mad.
with Ivy. The Aussie female, not so much. Overall, the outcome with Honeycomb was like, for me, was really good, just to get some more of those out. And then 2 weeks later from there, I had a red Darren Ford female ovulate from there. She was just a little not as far along as the others. And when I say she laid 4 eggs that were very weak, and the rest were slugs, and that wasn't, those eggs crashed as well. So yes, like some good success from 2 out of the 4, and some not so good success out of the other 2 that year. So when Honeycomb was due to lay a clutch this year, I was like, oh, I wonder what they're going to be like. Like I knew she had a couple of years off. Condition was like really, really good. She's probably nudging around a kilo. So I was like, how are they going to go? And I wasn't, I was like, if I got 12 eggs again, I'd be stoked. Because I think the average that Chuck is seeing in the States is around 12. 15, 16 for him is like a relatively large outlier size. So yeah, this time around, initially when I could see her start laying, what I could see, they were looking nice from the beginning. So I was optimistic there, and she coiled them beautifully. And she went really quite hormonal blue this year. She looked awesome on those eggs. And I took her off, and they were like, it was like an Ivy clutch, perfect. They looked good, they felt good, and I thought there was 16 there initially, because I like to just put the egg mass in the egg box as they are rather than separate. I think I just get that from Dad. It's just typically what he does, and he generally has good hatch rates from there. But yeah, nonetheless, I was psyched to see the quality of that clutch coming from her, and I knew it was, as long as I got the incubator right and the egg box right, I knew that from there, I should relatively see some good success. And fortunately, I hatched 13 hatched. 2 unfortunately were in there, fully formed, dead in the egg. But overall, I was pumped. I was stoked to have those numbers come out. And I guess for me, I can hold some more back here and strengthen my numbers a little further. But even more, the exciting prospect, for a few keepers, touch wood, that they all establish well. Massive aim is to get a few of these out there to some keepers this year. So, some other guys can enjoy them, and then hopefully, they're sort of, cemented in the hobby now for years to come. And I think it would just be like, for me, it's a project that I hold really closely for me because, one, because they were animals that I never thought I could get. And they were the one specific type that I really wanted. And to get them was just a dream to begin with. To then be able to get some out to the guys now to enjoy keeping. Because unfortunately, the breeder I acquired one from, he lost his adults in bushfires. So
it's tragic.
So from there, I wouldn't say I felt it as a weight. I absolutely had to make it happen, but just super grateful with the outcome that's come from the whole thing.
Yeah. It's definitely an added layer knowing that the other ones that you know of in the country are no longer around, and I think it's a hell of a legacy because it's not exactly like locality green pythons are available in Australia realistically, full stop. I mean, there's pure Aussies in the country if you get them from the right sort of people, but apart from that, you can't just jump on Australian morph market and get a locality anything.
No.
So it's a hell of a legacy, man. You've done really, really fucking well with it. It's awesome to see.
Thank you.
I'm sure there's people lining up to get their names on them if they haven't already done that.
Yeah, there's definitely a few. And that first year, I would have loved to have, sent them out to keepers, but at the end of the day, I only had the original two there, and something can happen at any stage with these animals. You just don't know. I really felt it was necessary to, hold on to them. But I'm hoping from next year, I can make some more available to the wider keepers. The 22s are looking really good. Both those females are looking great. Honeycomb bounced back phenomenally this year from that clutch. She went straight back onto food. She's starting to look really good. So I'm not opposed to pairing her back to back next year, and do another pure pairing with one of the 22 girls, and then potentially maybe try pair a red male to one of the other girls. And
spicy. I was gonna ask your thoughts on outcrossing.
Yeah, well, it's definitely something that I look at what Chuck's done. With he had some red animals in for a period of time, and what he produced from those pairings looked amazing. I think every offspring went on to be just as good as the sire that he used, or if not better. So I'm definitely intrigued. I'm really interested to see what the red neos would look like, just given how rich and vibrant. The yellow really is just something different, and their eyes are so yellow, it almost blends into their skin. So I'm really interested to see what impact that will have on the look of the red neo itself. I'm definitely keen to try that. And I said to myself, if I get a good clutch this year, then I wouldn't be opposed to having a go at outcrossing one next year.
Because I think from memory, Dan, he crossed them with some blue line stuff, didn't he? And they just turned out phenomenal.
Yeah.
They just looked amazing. So do you have, I was just going to ask you this, are you bouncing a bit of your experiences off Chuck? I guess I know when he speaks, he does talk about you a fair bit. Yeah. It's kind of a unique sort of privilege you have, I guess.
Yeah, we do talk to each other quite a bit. It's probably more or less just discussing, what you go through with establishing. He's like, yeah, that sounds like a Kofiau to me. Just in terms of getting them feeding, and it's just cool to talk with him because I'm sure there might be a couple of guys in Europe that have bred. I know there's some guys in Europe that have them, and I know have bred them in the past. But it's just cool to converse with Chuck. He regularly produces them. I think he said he's produced over 100 of them now, which is amazing. So it's just cool to be able to talk with him, his experiences with them, and he is just like for him seeing them being produced over here as well. He's just so happy about it. He's just generally like happy for you and in every way. And if laws were different, he would love to do a trade. And I wouldn't mind some of that blackhead gene over here. But yeah, it's definitely a cool thing to have him there to just be able to talk to, just with the amount of experience that he has with them. It's cool.
Yeah, those sort of blackhead, those blackhead Kofiaus look just incredible. And it's just I remember seeing them pop up on one of Gary Schiavino's videos, and just was like, wow, look at that thing. And it was wild.
It's definitely a very
you never know
looking thing.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think he was saying that when you do sib to sib pairings, that sometimes that pops out. So you don't know what you could be sitting on.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, it would be awesome if something like that did pop up. That'd be unreal. But it's really exciting. I'm looking forward to putting the work into making sure this clutch is healthy and goes on to be nice and strong. And it's going to be cool to see them out there in the hobby this year. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, hell yeah, that's the goal. It's so good to see animals that you've produced. Not that I've produced a stack, but it's awesome to see animals you've produced out in the real world, and see them thriving in good collections. It's the best. I think the green python community does that really well. It probably ties in quite a bit with how well the green python dudes, well, you guys, keep track of lineage and whatnot. Sort of really pays homage to the people who've been before, the people who have produced them and passed them on. It's really cool. It's awesome. But that's probably one of the reasons or one of the big contributors to what brings green python people together. You see all these names, and everyone knows who everyone is because of the record keeping and the lineage and stuff. It's very cool, very very cool. I was gonna ask you. I was going to ask you, Buzz, if you had a highlight in particular of your reptile keeping career, but I think you might have just gone over it all entirely.
Yeah, I mean, always your first clutch is like something that will always, I think, stay with you. Just going through that experience for the first time, like, you get so much invaluable information out of it. Like, I mean, once I saw Ivy go through the full motions to, egg deposition, like it's like everything, all the information that I soaked up, from what I've read, watched, talking to people, and then, you always put your own little spin here and there, but once you go through the process from end to end, it just made so much sense to me. And from there, I could all the cues just made sense to me. So that first clutch will always absolutely be a big highlight. But I think, the biggest highlight will always be, I think, that first pairing with the Kofiaus, for sure. It was just, it was always something when I got those animals, I was very determined to breed them. I mean, and I was still very green back then as well. You do see, a lot of guys come in, I guess, with the ambition to have a good crack at it, and some stick with it, and some don't. But I think, just given everything I went through, just the willingness to learn and just keep trying and grow, and to have the success that year was it was unreal. Those two particular moments will always stay with me as a massive highlight.
Yeah, I think for good reason. Having success after challenges just makes it a whole bunch more enjoyable. It's just a it's much more fulfilling, I guess. And so for me, where do you see your collection going, Dan, in the next, because it takes so long for these animals to mature, and you're thinking so far ahead. Where do you see it going? You've got a whole bunch of different bloodlines.
Yeah,
What's what's your dream? One day you want to be able to produce what?
I guess. I mean, yeah, I love the locality types just as much as the mixed red stuff as well. So I enjoy the Aussies massively as well. I think a full white stripe Aussie is amazing. But if we're talking in terms of the the red mixed animals and things like that, I really love melanism, and I really love high yellow. And I guess
Yeah.
last year was my first time to produce any red babies, and that was from Renfield, which was from Kyle Brown, which has got that fire blood in it, the Grand Sire that my dad used to keep. And I guess those particular animals, I guess, are just like building blocks for me. Is at the beginning, I guess, the thing I liked about that pairing is, Ivy, she's a machine. Like she's bred 3 years in a row, all full fertile clutches, and the offspring typically were always great feeders. So my idea was I'd really love to try get that in with Renfield to begin with there. And I guess the cool thing is one of the neos is exhibiting a reasonable amount of like melanism flex on it at the moment. So obviously
Say, mate,
I love
you're being very modest there. It's pretty insane.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a really nice animal. So like I'd really love to, in 5 years, like, can I get that heavier? Can I get that black heavier? And I'd really love high yellow as well. So if I could, produce some animals and see some like nice yellow coming through and work through in 5 years' time to see some, nice high yellow animals, I would love that. That would be unreal. So
Do you
I don't know.
do you see yourself maybe like crossing, because you got some mustard stuff, right? You think you'd cross
Yeah.
some of that to your Kofiau?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And I even tried to see if one of the 22 males would be interested in breeding that Adrian Hemmons mustard female this year, because when she went through her OCC, she had huge amounts of black on her. And it's typically all stripped away now, but I don't know if maybe from her like some melanism can
could
come
unlock
from her
something,
for sure. But
Was she yellow or red?
she was a red baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
Very
she was almost 60% black when she was really in the thick of her OCC. It was amazing to watch.
Yeah,
So,
wow.
but yeah, but she's been an interesting one. I've tried breeding her 3 years in a row with no avail, and I'm going to say like well over 20 visual locks. A lot of
Yeah.
a lot of snake love would be going in there.
And you think, Dan, you just never saw really building follicles. You just never.
No, like,
This makes me
there's
sort of think.
Yeah.
I'm thinking at this point in time, you're probably thinking you want an ultrasound.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that she is an animal where an ultrasound would probably like give me some really valuable information to see what's going on and where she's at for sure. So, but yeah, it's I look back at from where I began, and like I said, I always had a determination and a vision of like potentially where I could be with it. Watching others on social media and things, and if I look back from there to where I am now, it just, it really gets me up and about with, I guess, the success that I've had over the last 4 years. And I feel so lucky to have the animals here that I do. And then I think, where could it be in 5 years' time? And that really gets me excited thinking about that. I almost feel like I'm just beginning. I feel like there's plenty more growth to do. So
I think we've probably spoken about this before on another podcast, but it's just an endless pursuit.
Yeah.
You just keep moving to the next thing, and I think it's this is the thing about chondros. They are so challenging. There are so many hurdles that you need to jump through. There are so many things that can go wrong. That, gosh damn it, when you actually produce them, you've got to enjoy it.
100%.
I get so excited. I drive my wife absolutely crazy, and anyone else that's around me. But gosh, it's just an absolute brilliant thing.
It's a roller coaster. But like Boz, like you were saying before about getting excited and cracking a beer just by seeing Kofiau's locked for the first time. That's what it's all about. Like we all know well truly that we know it doesn't mean shit, but it's a win. So you got to take it.
100%.
You got to take those wins.
And that's one thing I do is each successful key moment you see and get past, I do absolutely take a moment to really take that in. That's a win, enjoy it, and then you quickly go, all right, on to the next stage. I mean, you can never really relax until, 2-3 months after those neos have been in your rack and they're just feeding consistently. Then you can sit back and go, I did it.
You know what was agree? I had a really cool moment, I don't know, maybe a month ago or so, after my female laid that clutch of eggs, and then I gave her a couple of feeds and she took a big shit. And I was like, yes, she did a shit. This is good. This is really good. I was almost as excited as I was when I got eggs.
I remember that first year in 2022, I was, I was waiting on Ivy to lay her clutch, and she made me wait all the way until day 21. But I remember that morning popping up that nest box lid, and I could see her coiled on eggs. And I put that lid back down, and I walked away. And I was like, there's fucking eggs in there. I was like, there's actual fucking eggs in that nest box. I had to take a moment before I even thought about getting her off. It's moments like that you got to really soak it up, for sure.
100%. I actually stumbled upon a Snapchat memory just yesterday or the day before from 5 years ago. It was the first clutch of green pythons that I got, and I was like, fuck. Holy shit, what do I do? No incubator, no nothing. But
right.
Yeah, just happy to be there at the time. Hopefully this year's better than the last few.
You just put them under your pillow, didn't you? And just hatched them out under your pillow.
That could be why it didn't work. Not quite.
I love this. I just love this conversation because just for me, I just get really super excited, and it just pumps you up. I just can't wait for the middle of next year for myself. I'm just like, there's got plans, and who knows what's going to happen, but it's just like, let's just go for it, and it's great. It's just I think we're really evangelizing, but it's it's a great hobby to be in, and I think for me, the level of difficulty just makes it much more satisfying.
It really is a challenge. It is a challenge, but it's really rewarding when it comes off.
So I was just going to say too, Joe, that, and I think what makes Dan's achievements so remarkable is that you don't have a room where your snakes are. Hey Dan, they're down your hall, they're in your living room, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And you got 7 kids, don't you? And they're running around like crazy. And
I've just got the one newly teenage lad who's I'm going to get him trained up on getting his water bowls changed for me. But it is, and I guess for me, each year with the success I have, I'd like to try grow it a little more, whether it's, bring in, a couple of nice animals, expanding on some caging. So for me, it's just incremental growth, a little bit of growth each year, but obviously eventually, I'd love to, fit out a nice shed, have a nice adult room, juvenile room, etc. That's probably a couple of years down the track, but that's absolutely what I'd love to have is a proper dedicated room for them for sure.
Yeah. No,
100%.
that'll be special.
Boz, I think it's
Definitely.
sick, man, how you've got so many different sort of options that you can literally just pick and choose and plug and play with whatever it is that you want to produce. Like next year, you would have a stack of options if you wanted to, or maybe not necessarily next year, but in the coming years,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of different
Yeah.
routes you could take and projects you could pursue.
Yeah, next year should be pretty quiet. This year I always suspected would be a little bit quieter. Like I didn't expect. I did pair Ivy again because she's just bounced back and the machine she is. But I never expected her to go again, given that she'd bred 3 years in a row. So you know what? To be honest, I'm happy that she has the year off. The luck I've had with trying to breed this mustard girl. There's still a question mark on her. I might have to, shift things up a little bit next year and maybe change something a little bit there to try something different.
How old is she now, Dan?
She is I'm going to say she's a 2019.
Okay.
And talking with Adrian, I know it took him 7 years to crack the parents to produce her. So I don't know if it's a maturity thing. I think next year I'm gonna give her a bit of a fasting period, and then give her some frequent meals leading into breeding season there, and see if that can help there.
That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. So next year is pretty cool. There's definitely a few things I can do next year, and then I'm excited when these Redfield Ivy animals come of age to be able to use those. That'll be phenomenal as well. But I think for me, I'll always, I love the Aussies. I'll keep working with them, and obviously the Kofiaus. I really love Russell's Sarong type line as well. I'm really hoping, please Russell, like, he probably won't see this, but I'd really love the opportunity to bring some of those in at some stage. And yeah, I'd love to, if 5 years down the track, I could produce some cool animals with, some nice black and some nice light yellow animals. I'd be feeling extremely chuffed. Well, I already am, but that's the goal.
Maybe even yellow and black.
Yeah, that would be cool, hey. So, and it'll be good. I think it'll be good to see the sample size from this Kofiau clutch. The percentage that will retain the yellow, because it's hard, I guess. From that first year, only having the 5 animals there. So it'll be cool to see, a larger clutch size progress and see how they all go. But my experience is it's pretty much what Chuck was saying. You got that, the green wash with the blue coming through. It looks like some will retain the yellow and some will go, all green wash type of thing. But sometimes I do look at them and I'm like, it's like they have the ability to shift their colours slightly. Like sometimes I'll look at the males and be like, oh, you're looking a bit more like yellow today, right? It's like they have the ability to just shift at times.
They are unique. They're super unique, and you can sort of, I guess, pick up on that. There seems to be a lot of variability, even just within the animals that you post. Do you get that? Like, just each individual has its own sort of, not color scheme, but sort of look, or is it each one just varies as well?
They're all slightly. I mean, they're all similar, but all slightly different from one another. It's cool, but yeah, I love it, and it is. And the ones that do change, it is a very, very long OCC, and it can take years. Sometimes, 7 years, and it can change. So that's the thing. You can never be guaranteed that it's going to hold, the yellow all the way through, and that's been my experience. But nonetheless, they're still, if they do change, and you've got that full dorsal crossbar stripe running down, and that goes blue, like it's wicked. That's one of my favourite looks. A nice green with a powder blue dorsal running down. I love
it. Yeah, crazy. Well, getting sort of close to the end, boys. Is anything you want to talk about, Dan?
This Dan?
That Dan. You, Dan.
Me, Dan. Oh, no, I just want to say, thanks for sharing your knowledge, Dan. It's been super interesting. And yeah, it's cool. I've always been intrigued. You sort of had this arc, I guess, of these animals, and yeah, it's just super cool how it's all come off for you. And yeah, and I agree. I love that blue dorsal, yellow animals.
Yeah.
I know you've got a couple of those. They just look sick.
Yeah.
They got black tails too, don't they? And they just look wild.
Yeah, they're like a model black with blue, and yeah, and their tails are super long and slender. Like when you see them come out of the egg, when you see them fresh out the egg, you're like, you don't want to have a bad shed, because the tails on a fresh neo, they're something else.
So tapered, yeah. So that's it for me, really. I just want to say thanks. It's just super cool to talk to another keeper, and hopefully the people that are watching or listening get just excited by the direction of where some of these green pythons are going in this country, because it's as we say, I think we're just beginning.
Yeah, I think it's definitely on a good trajectory at the moment. I think there's definitely some really nice animals being produced this year alone. Those ones that you've just shown are awesome. Jason Condro's Unleashed, he's popped out a few really nice animals this year. Andrew Owen, he's had
some crazy
animals. Yeah,
he's had a good year.
Yeah, I think it's on a good path, and everyone's aware, how to try and keep a good, healthy group now. So I think in 5 years' time, Australia should be looking pretty healthy with some really cool greens around.
I reckon. Hey, Dan, we'll be at episode 60 of ChatGTP in 5 years. What do you think about that?
Sounds good. I'll be there.
Mate, I'll be so old by then. I'll have
to. Well, Boz, I've got to ask if you have a favourite green python internationally or within Australia. Does any one in particular individual stand out to you?
There was one that Patrick Holmes had from his crooked. I forget what he calls it now. Everyone would be like just screaming out the name when they see it. But he had this phenomenal bioc animal that was just absolutely killer. And for the life of me, it's evading me. But in all seriousness, like I feel like I already have the animals that I've always wanted. Like I feel very humbled and grateful. The Kofiaus were definitely them for me, and I'll never take it for granted. So I'm super grateful to have the opportunity, and for it to be where it is now.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Hell yeah. Well, I'm pretty happy to round things out there. If anyone's looking for you online and see what you've got going on, whereabouts can they find you?
I'm pretty well most active on Instagram under Condro Boz. You can catch me there. You can flick me a message anytime. Always happy to help out where I can. And I do also have a Facebook page, Condro Boz, as well. not as active on Facebook. Yeah, more the Instagram side of things.
Yeah, sweet. Happy days, boys. We're all happy. Round it out.
Yeah. Look, again, thanks a bunch for having me on today. It's been good to be a part of this here, and I think you're doing a really good job with the Condro podcast as well.
Cheers. Thank you.
From feedback from other guys that I've talked to, they're really enjoying it as well. So well done there, and yeah, congrats again, Dan, on that clutch. And I'll have our fingers crossed for you, Joe, with your clutch.
Cheers, boss.
I'll be looking forward to seeing those photos when they're out. But yeah, no, thank you again, and probably just a shout out to my old man, just for everything he's done along the way. And probably a big shout out to Andrew Owen as well. He's always been in my corner when I very first started to build a collection. So yeah, super grateful for his advice and help along the way there as well. But yeah, thanks again. It's been fun. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Absolutely our pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate your time. It's great. All right. As always, everyone, thanks so much for listening, and feel free to reach out on Instagram at joemac.uthl. If you've enjoyed the content, please consider liking and subscribing and following along. As always, also, Dan is on Instagram as red_earth_reptiles. That wraps up this episode of ChatGTP. Thanks very much, Boz, and thanks, Dan.
Cheers, guys.
Joe.